Hello, everybody. I know, check this out. I are a professional now. I can use my real radio voice. Let me know if that's too loud, guys. I'm not sure. It's a new mic, so I don't know what I need to do to turn it down if it's too loud. You're listening to WKDL, cool sounds of the 80s. Hi, Critter. Hi, Parallax. Shannon. Looks like George was in here before. Hi, Gabby. Hi, Trish. Oh, well, thanks for coming on over. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll have to tell Kurt thank you. Yes, I did very early. I got an early start. I appreciate it though. I'm happy when I do it. Little pat on the back. Never hurt nobody. Hi, Charles. Damn, this thing is weird. All right, so I think we're going to give it another minute or two. See how everybody's doing. By the way, how is everybody doing tonight? Everybody been watching Johnny? Oh, volume up. Okay, volume up. How about that? Is this better? Hey, I just like it. It's got to be nice and clean. Yeah, making the big YouTube bucks a new mic. Yeah, this is not high quality equipment, but it works. And somebody was complaining that when I would touch the desk, there'd be some like weird thud or popping noise. It was driving them crazy, so I'm assuming it wasn't just them. So, for a couple of bucks. George Locus. Thanks. When I get my hair cut, though, I'm probably going to look like Sean Connery. So, you guys will see on Monday. Hi, CC. Numbers Man, hello. Hi, Linda. Cheryl, how are you doing? Give everybody... Yeah, just one more minute. One more minute will give us 5 minutes in, and then we'll start. I mean, they're on boobs, so... I mean... I'm not really going to be that picky. Stay based. Yeah, well... How does the one kid say it? Huh. I'm cringing, that's not based, but I'm... Oh, hold on. This is just for you artifacts. This is more my style. Turn down your sound. This might be a little rough for you guys. All right, here. You know what? I'll turn it down a little myself.
It's in that everybody here is cringe. No. Only me. I'm cringe. And that's based. I'll never be based, and that's not cringe. There's no one I'd rather be than me.
So yeah, I appreciate the staying based, but have some standards. I mean, real explorers climb every mountain. That's what you need to think about. Real explorers climb every mountain. Also, I'm not going to be able to point because this gets caught in the boom now. So, all right. So it's past 5 after. So we'll start. Yes, he was. Okay. So we'll get to that. Better than word. What about you? This isn't just about me. It's a conversation. Where would you like to take a poo? No comment. All right, guys. So let's get started. What's the first thing we're gonna talk about? William Husel. So, CC the Jedi. Thank you very much. $10. The Jedi, maybe they did 9/11. I'm not sure, but the Jedi are space ISIS, and they deserve to be eradicated. They breed children to become warriors. They have a hokey religion that they violently enforce upon people. Yeah, I mean, they're ISIS in space. I can tell you're here from Recada. Yeah, the Empire did nothing wrong. I'm not talking about... Oh, okay, yeah, well... Yes. Okay, yeah. I could see where you're going with that, yeah. Yeah, those Jedi. Yeah, we'll leave that up for a minute. Anyways, Dr. Husel had his verdict finally. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. What better day than 420 for him to win a 14-count murder case? Took 5 days. I cover this in the video, but it sounds like there was at least 2 holdout jurors. One juror, for some reason, was holding out on 13 of the 14 counts. And then on one of the counts left over, 2 of them were holding out. I don't know why, what for. I mean, the case was awful from the start. I think everybody here who has been following it from day one, when the detective got on the stand, it was fucking awful. I mean, it's a horrible case. They had nothing. And that detective had no idea half the medical things he was being asked about. Hey, did you talk to any of the nurses? No. Did you talk to any of the pharmacists? No. Did you talk to any of the doctors? No. Did you talk to Dr. Husel himself? No. So what did they do? The hospital came to the prosecutor's office, gave them a stack of papers, and said, hey, this guy probably killed someone. Look into it. Hold on one second. What the heck? Okay, shit. All right, guys, sorry. Fuck, I did it again. Fuck me running. Okay, sorry, I had a client issue I had to take care of. Husel should sue the hospital in the ground. He probably will sue Trinity Health System into the ground, but Mount Carmel West is gone. It was kind of a rundown piece of shit hospital, so they bulldozed it. It's gone. It's just a nursing school left. He's gonna have to wait till his civil suits are over. There's people still suing him for wrongful death. Winning this murder case really gives him a lot of ammunition to show nobody else thought there were problems. But we'll see. At some point, yeah, I think he's got a case to go against them for retaliation, wrongful termination, any number of things. Will he be a doctor again? Jose Baez said apparently he wants to get back to medicine, but probably not in Ohio and probably not for a while. I mean, this is going to wear on anybody. Yeah. Not again. Yeah. I know it's muted. My daughter's a registered nurse and would never agree to plunge that mountain to a living person. Probably, but I mean, does your daughter engage in palliative care? Because I think that's probably where, if she hasn't been trained in that, she might, but yeah. Muted boomer, thank you. Very cringe. I said that from the start, so I'm glad I lived up to it. No, it's not. Thank you. I've gone deaf. Fuck you. Jesus. I just need to start off the stream muted. That'll be great. Can he cross-sue the hospitals in the wrongful death claim? The hospital's not suing him. It's the families that are suing him for the wrongful death, that he did something wrong. So those families are suing the hospital and they're suing Husel. They're going after everybody who's got money in their pockets. Husel has malpractice insurance. He's also got personal belongings. He's also his own, he's got his own money to deal with. So yeah, it'll be there. He, if he wants to sue the hospital, he could sue him for like wrongful termination, retaliation, hostile work environment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, suing him in this suit's not really going to be one that works. He's going to have to probably sue them on his own time. I hate Jose Baez. Hey, he's a rock star, man. That dude brings it home. But I will say his co-counsel from here in Ohio, Diane Menashe, she did a great job too. I mean, she was great on her cross-examination. I mean, she tore apart a lot of people. So yeah, it wasn't just him. It was his whole team, but yeah, Jose and Diane, they kick some ass. I mean, I might try to send an email out to Diane and ask her if I can, interview or talk to her about it, because I really am curious about this case. It was really impressive what they did. It wasn't just they got a not guilty and they squeaked one out. I mean, they literally blew up the case. All those terrible court mics. Yet they can't sue the drug company. Well, what are they going to sue the drug company for? Because let's say, insert whatever, Pfizer. Let's say Pfizer made all that fentanyl. Well, it did its job. This isn't the case with the Sackers and, people getting hooked on Oxy, which is, those cases have been settled recently. If you're going to sue them, are you going to sue products liability, defective products, stuff they should know? Well, we know what fentanyl does. It'll dope you up and can lead to being killed. Well, it worked as performed. It's just like if Husel walked in and cracked somebody's skull open with a hammer. If you sue Estwing for the hammer, they're going to say, look, our hammer did its job. It crushed that guy's skull. It's not our fault. So, no, they won't really have that as an option. Yep, he does. I forgot about that. The defamation suit is going, and yeah, he stands to gain out of that, especially with everything that's been released. And now that he's won, the hospital likely will settle with him because it's hard to call him a murderer and a killer once you've been acquitted. Just win, baby. Yeah, gotta win. Um, yeah, in a way it would. And I agree because yeah, it worked. Fentanyl did its job. Husel gave it to him, gave him a ton of it, and eased their pain. In some cases, it maybe helped kill them, but we all knew that was going to do that. It's not user error. It's just worked as performed. Yep, it is a miracle. I think I covered this before. It was developed for cancer patients because morphine and everything else wasn't cutting it. And unlike morphine, and Dr. Zivit talked about this, the defense expert, fentanyl doesn't decrease your heart rate and blood pressure like morphine does. It attacks things in a different manner, which is why it's, preferred, and they don't really use morphine anymore. But yeah, he won 14 out of 14. I covered that. I really clipped it up, but if you want to watch the result, he is you can see at the end when count number 14 is finally read, you can just see all that stress just fall apart from him. You can see Diane Menashe, she's standing there next to him. She's emotional too, and I've been in that position. I'd like to be in something like that someday, but it's nerve-wracking when you're standing tall with your guy. And for the ones I've won, I defended a guy who was accused of a sex crime, and we won. That was very emotional. My guy started laughing, and he had his big smile on his face, and he started crying. It's, especially in a case like Dr. Husel's case, or the case where I defended this guy, I knew he was innocent to start with. I was not convinced he did this in any way. And for Jose Baez and Diane Menashe, I guarantee you there's been many a sleepless night over the past couple of years getting ready for this case, knowing this guy is innocent, and oh my God, if we fuck this up and we don't score a touchdown, it's over. But yeah, it's stressful. When you watch it, it's very interesting. Dr. Husel goes out and hugs his family, hugs his wife, and hugs everybody that was there for him. And then he walks back into the courtroom and sits down on his table. I would love to know what he was doing there, if he was writing or just collecting his thoughts, but it was very interesting what happened to him. Yeah, I just thought I'd make it funny a little bit. He should have dropped an amber on the prosecutor's desk. Yes, I was very disappointed in that. Well, I think that is a Mystery Maven. I don't think it's all that's being portrayed. And everybody can agree to look at it a different way. A lot of expert testimony was obfuscated for Dr. Schweiger. Yeah, I think they're ultimately, with these experts, I just had an issue with them that they weren't, even when the state had them up there, these guys were very vulnerable, and they weren't necessarily positioned to defend themselves. I think Dr. Zivit, the defense expert, that dude came in like a rock star and took care of business. I do think it's also important to note the doctors that were brought in for the state, they weren't critical care and ICU specialists or anesthesiologists. They were other types of medical professionals, which they do have experience and knowledge, but I do think it's a good idea if you're trying to show that Dr. Husel wasn't doing a good job as an anesthesiologist, another anesthesiologist coming in and saying, here's how you do it correctly, he was wrong, was probably the better way to prove it. If, I think, for example, if I'm trying to try a case and there's a mechanic involved and I'm trying to prove the mechanic didn't do a good job, I bring in another mechanic to say he was bad. I wouldn't bring in a carpenter or an HVAC guy to do it. I would bring in a mechanic who does exactly what that guy does to show why it's wrong. But you mean a grumpy. Also, Mystery Maven, thanks for following. I appreciate it. I'll be trying to get in touch with you probably at some point coming up. Jose and Diane, a super defense team. I think they did a good job. I mean, they got the dub. At the end of the day, it's all that matters. Bullets would have been cheaper for the palliative care victims. Would have been really loud, though, for everybody else. Shaw, hey, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I was going to say, guys, when the verdict was read live, I was working on a appeal. I was actually reading through a transcript, so I didn't even know what had happened. I was waiting. I was expecting this to take forever, so... in law school. Oh, so if you went to law school, Juan, you got through, congratulations. I don't know how long it is since you've been. I was told that experts would testify how it's done in that general community. Well, it depends what your expert can know and what they can talk about. If it's a very finite and very, very specific point of a profession or a job or a situation, you may be focusing on that little bit of it. I mean, in Dr. Husel's case, was this the standard of care? Should this have happened? Was this proper? And, some doctors talking about the standard of care and whether or not it's proper, yeah, there's something you could talk about that. But once again, it's in the context of that critical care in the ICU and giving somebody palliative care. Well, who knows that better than an anesthesiologist? There might be some other types of doctors, but the doctors that were brought by the state they didn't have that level of experience or that speciality. I was starting to get worried for a little while that it kept dragging on. I was getting worried there might be a compromise verdict at some point, but the way Jose Baez talked about in his press conference, it sounded like that wasn't an issue from the start. There were already 10 or 11 people voting not guilty, so that's a good news. Generally, you don't sway back the other way. And thankfully, 12 Angry Men happens to work out for the guy, and they don't go in reverse. And it's 12 Peaceful Men. Now, since the verdict happened, the recusal motion that was filed, yeah, it did seem long. So, right before jury deliberations, Jose Baez filed a recusal motion for Judge Holbrook. That was immediately placed under seal. That was filed with the Supreme Court of Ohio because they're in charge of that. You don't file it with the judge himself. In Ohio, it goes to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court holds on to it, and they make their decision. It was denied, but everything was sealed until the jury verdict was done. That happened yesterday. Spent a lot of time this morning trying to... The anesthesiologist expert was Dr. Zivit, the defense expert. The other doctors, Dr. Schweiger and Dr. Eli, I think it's Eli, they were not anesthesiologists. But Dr. Husel was an anesthesiologist, so that's why I think it went the right way. Yeah, this would have changed the way things happen here in Ohio, so I'm glad it kind of worked out that way. But getting back to it, guys, I was on the phone with the Supreme Court of Ohio this morning trying to get a copy of this recusal motion. It was sealed up until about noon, and I will say to Saba, who is in the Public Affairs Office, or the Public Information Office at the Supreme Court, thank you so much for helping me. I spoke with him on the phone. Apparently, he helped get things sorted out for me and actually emailed me copies of everything. So what we could do now is actually talk about it and look and see what actually happened. So let me see here. I'm going to pull up the right one. And we'll talk about what happened here. It's actually very interesting. And, yeah, Mr. Maven, if you're curious and you'd like to see these, I can get these to you. Not a problem. Where is window? Okay. Here we go. Oh, I need to get rid of that and get rid of that. What shows up on here? Yeah, need to get rid of those. Sorry, guys. So this is the affidavit of attorney Jose Baez. This is actually what he filed. So as you can see, it's in the Supreme Court of Ohio. And here's the case number out of Franklin County. It's an affidavit of disqualification filed against Judge Michael Holbrook. First off, it starts off with some basic things here. Here's his affidavit, and this is him swearing under oath facts here. He talks about that he's been admitted to practice in Florida. He's been in Ohio pro hoc vice, which means that the state has allowed him to practice without being granted a law license in Ohio. It's a temporary feature. He's actually tried a couple cases in Ohio, so this wasn't his first time here. Anyway, he talks about being in front of Judge Michael Holbrook. He starts talking about the trial started February 2nd. The jury was in panel February 16th. Opening arguments were on the 22nd, and that's when we started, if you guys don't remember. The 22nd and 23rd, we jumped in on day one. Closing arguments are scheduled for April 6th. And here is why he's requesting that, pursuant to the Ohio Constitution, Article 4, Section 5, and RC means revised code. And those are the state laws in Ohio. They might call them the statutes of Alabama or the Alabama annotated statutes, the code of Texas, whatever they call it. RC means Ohio Revised Code. Those are our laws. So they bring up that disqualification is necessary to avoid the appearance of partiality due to repeated statements made by Judge Holbrook throughout the trial that would leave no litigant or reasonable objective observer without serious doubts as to Judge Holbrook's impartiality. Also, okay, just making sure we are making sure that I did not mute it. And then he says in more detail below, the disqualification of Judge Holbrook, and actually I should zoom in a little more so you guys can read. We're here in paragraph 5, is necessary to avoid an appearance of bias, prejudice, or impropriety, and to ensure their counsel, the public, the unquestioned neutrality of an impartial court. He does cite some different Supreme Court cases out of Ohio. These are legal citations. Unlike, it's kind of like APA and MLA, you cite after your sentence, but with legal citations, guys, you have to do it a certain way. Otherwise, it's gobbledygook and nobody can figure out what you're talking about. Maybe that'll be a different topic for another day. There's a little more justification here about what happened, so we're going to skip ahead to the facts. So first of all, here's where we start with number 7. After the close of evidence, and over defense objections, and I agree, the state got the opportunity to ask for and include attempted murder for each of the 14 counts. I thought that was ridiculous. They went through all of this, and they went through the whole trial, and now they want attempted murder. Well, that's because they knew their case sucked, and they were looking like they were in bad shape. And I mentioned this before, guys. Murder in Ohio is a 15-year minimum mandatory sentence to life in prison. So you serve a minimum mandatory 15 years, and then you're finally eligible for parole at that point. But you might not get out. So you theoretically could serve life in prison. Attempted murder is a first-degree felony. You could face anywhere from 3 to 11 years in prison. It's not mandatory, but if you get convicted of attempted murder, you're going to prison. So, anywhere from 3 to 11 years in each one of those counts. And because they have concerns about the impartiality, they point out that Judge Holbrook would have the discretion to impose sentences, whether or not consecutive or concurrent, whether or not the sentences would be stacked, consecutive, or concurrent, where they just get run as one big block. Throughout the trial, and this is where it gets interesting. The defense believes that Judge Holbrook made comments which indicate his belief that Dr. Husel is guilty of murder, and those comments cast doubt upon his ability to be neutral and impartial. Some of you might be wondering, what are those? And you'll find out why you probably never heard about these. During trial on March 29th, prior to arguing for a motion of acquittal, Judge Holbrook made conclusory references to Dr. Husel's actions as murder, despite the charges remaining as allegations. Maybe, and I didn't have the chance to go back and watch stuff because I was working today and then also involved in the Johnny Depp stuff. But we'll see what Exhibit A it'll show you. And then in the presence of jury, once on February 22nd and 2 more times on March 10th, Judge Holbrook made overt references to preserving the record for when this case reaches the Court of Appeals. I remember these. And honestly, at the time, it didn't occur to me. And you know what? That's because I'm kind of I'm not the best attorney in the world. But that's very important. Why would this go to the Court of Appeals? Because he thinks Dr. Husel's going to get convicted. And maybe the jury would pick up on that, because if the jury's saying, they're like, oh, well, the judge thinks he's guilty, and this is just perfunctory until the appeals court will sort it out. He shouldn't be saying that in front of the jury. And I agree with that. And actually, going forward, I read this earlier. I cheated, said I wasn't going to look, but I had to. That's burned in my skull right now, to keep that in mind. Because, yeah, in mentioning the Court of Appeals, well, how the hell do you know I'm going to lose? You should be thinking I'm going to lose. You haven't seen all the evidence yet, Judge. And even if you are going to make that opinion, you got to keep it to yourself, not to the jury. Both the prosecution and the defense requested while at sidebar, but on the record, so they approached, and they did this on the record, the court refrained from making similar comments. So not only did Jose Baez say, hey, Judge, you got to knock this off, but the prosecutor said, hey, Judge, please don't do that. Now, why does the prosecutor want that? He doesn't want this coming back on an appeal. This is a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of, logistics and money and everything to get this done. He doesn't want it to get overturned on some issue like that, when he could have the judge just shut up. And then it never comes back. Nobody wants to retry a case if they don't have to. And then here's another one. In the presence of the jury on March 16th, judge referred to persons as victims as opposed to patients, which again, either directly or inferentially signals to the jurors and the public that he believes Dr. William Husel to be guilty and thus not entitled to the presumption of innocence as afforded by the Constitution. Okay, now I wasn't involved and I don't know the pretrial discussions, and this kind of gets in the Kyle Rittenhouse territory. Are they victims or are they just people until you can prove a murder happened? If we're on the boat of they're people until you can prove a murder happened, I agree. They're still patients because they never came close to proving murder ever happening. But there's, at least my experience trying to make that argument in Ohio, probably going to get you laughed out of court. There's a murder alleged, they're victims. I think the Judge Borowski way of looking at it is probably what Judge Holbrook was thinking in his head if you had to ask him. But you know what? I shouldn't say that because we'll find out what Judge Holbrook means. He gets to speak. On April 4th, in response to defense counsel requesting that the defendant be referred to by name in the jury instructions, now this is at a charging conference. This is not in front of the jury. This is everybody arguing about what should be done with the jury instructions. Judge Holbrook referred to Dr. William Husel as the killer, Dr. Husel. That's a big one. That's a little more than an oopsie poopsie or a difference of views. I did not know this, but yeah, this is not good. Throughout the trial, Judge Holbrook has held routine daily meetings with members of the press, which are off the record, and are held without counsel. And the judges commented on the case. As a defense attorney, I don't like that. As a prosecutor, I don't like that. If the judge is talking to people in the public, I demand to have a right to know. And I would argue that's a constitutional issue. That's not good. And judges are taught that don't engage with the press. You shouldn't be doing this. That's just really weird. That's just, you shouldn't be doing that. Not at all. On March 3rd, he commented to the media on his intended ruling on a pending motion. Oof. That's not good either. That's a big no-no. I have a lot of problems with that. This is one that everybody probably did hear. He expressed to the media on March 31st his opinion regarding the decisions made by the defense, such as his shock resting after the first witness. He shouldn't be commenting on any of that. God knows if any of that gets to the jury. He shouldn't have done that. That was a big one. Now, when I learned about this one, I just thought it was this. I don't remember all the other stuff, at least off the top of my head at the time. So this just once on its own in a vacuum, no big deal. But all these stacked up, yeah, I think it'd be fair. A lot of people would say, oof, that's not very good. There's a law and argument section here, guys. I'm not going to go through this. I did read through it, though, because I'm a bit of a dork, and it's part of my job. This is just finding case law where they can show that, hey, you guys have removed judges in these situations, and in other states, there's other supporting case law for this. Just getting through that, and we get to, hold on here. And then just gets to the conclusion to avoid the appearance of prejudice, partiality, and impropriety, as well as to ensure continued confidence in the integrity of the judicial system. The Chief Justice should appoint a new judge to preside over the remainder of Dr. Husel's trial, which was literally the last step. But that's what they're asking for. And then here's Jose Baez as it's an affidavit. He's signing this, and it's been notarized, and it's a, if he were to be lying about any of that, he could be punished for it. So here's, hold on. I'm going to read and kind of see where everybody's at. Wow, damn, you guys are... Oh, Dina Cuddle, $5 super sticker. Thank you very much. Well, I didn't get the motion unsealed. The court did, but I just called and said, hey, can you really help me out? I told him I run a YouTube show, so maybe he helped me out a little bit. Yes, Husel was an anesthesiologist at the ICU in Mount Carmel. Yeah, but remember, Diane Menashe works in Columbus, so she'll see Judge Holbrook again. But this isn't vindictive, and when you read what Judge Holbrook responds with, you'll understand why. Yes, he completed his residency at... Oh, shit. Hi, Kurt. Sorry. Was reading through all that.
No worries, you're fine.
Hi, Kurt from Uncivil Law. Thanks for coming in.
No problem. I had my own live stream, and I needed to take a quick break in between.
Oh.
I wanted to stop by and say hi.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I didn't know if you saw me rolling through that, but yeah, it was yeah, this judge had done a lot of things that I've never heard of judges ever doing before.
Ooh, do tell.
Well, he was giving like daily press conferences with the press. He'd bring them up and talk to them. He actually, daily he would do this outside the presence of counsel.
That's very strange.
Yes. Other one was he had told the press he was intending how he was going to rule on a motion that was pending prior to doing it.
Okay, that seems like it violates ethical rules.
Yes, it does. I think he's going to have to, well, thankfully for him, if the Supreme Court says, hey, Judge, we need to talk to you about this, it's only like a 20-minute drive to the Supreme Court from Columbus, so that'll save him some gas money. And then I remember him saying these at the time, but it didn't click in. When there were issues about objections, the judge said, we'll make sure it's noted for the Court of Appeals on the record in front of... And I explained that because that was earlier. Yeah, that's not good to tell the jury, hey, I think this guy's going to get convicted and the Court of Appeals is going to have to handle it. Yeah,
Seems like some judicial misconduct there.
Yeah, well, I'll send this to you. I'll let you read it. It's interesting. I was just trying to catch up on people real quick. All right, we'll try to get some of this. Guys, the Johnny Depp stuff, we'll bring that up in a minute. Yeah, calling the patients victims too bothered me. Yeah, that was the other issue. The judge was calling the dead patients victims.
Well, that is a bit of a split issue on how to treat that. So that's not as concerning.
Yeah, but I think when you look at it with everything together, it's like, oof.
Fair enough.
And during the charging conference, when they were talking about, Jose Baez said, well, hey, we want to not refer him as defendant, call him William Husel. the judge has fined the killer, William Husel. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
That's not so good. You can't do that.
Yeah, that's not good.
So you think this judge was out to convict this guy?
No, I don't think so. I just think I don't think so. I just the judge responds after this. I have his response because he had to file a response to the court.
Okay.
And he gives a response which it's not bad. Okay. He's not. I don't think he was. Probably wasn't thinking halfway through about all this stuff until he's like, oh shit, yeah, this is a bad idea. This doesn't sound good. I think he looked at this kind of like it's a couple of dudes, getting into a shootout over some drug stuff or the typical criminal cases he gets in Columbus. So yeah, Franklin County where this happened it's Columbus. So it's, got all the great accoutrements of a big city, all the violence and murder. So I think that's more of where he was coming at from this, but we'll get to that because I want to just show everybody. Exhibit A this is what a court transcript looks like. Now, when I get them, if I'm ever doing an appeal, and I'm sure for you, Kurt, if you've ever, done anything, you never get this part up top that it's an unedited, unproofread, uncertified rough draft. But it does show here, it's literally just like this. Mr. Baez, the court, Miss Sawyers, the court then. It really reads like this, guys. It's it's very dry.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just goes on for a while and it doesn't take up the whole page. So, what may have only been a couple pages like in a book is, a little longer this way. But yeah, they include those because he got them from the court reporter as he did. He includes them all there. So yeah, that's it. Now, there's a response. And this is interesting from the judge. So Franklin County Court of Common Pleas, that's how you prosecute felonies in Ohio, is the Common Pleas Court. It was filed with the Supreme Court by Judge Michael Holbrook, and he's responding. He says, I'm in receipt of the affidavit of disqualification that was filed. Please accept this correspondence as my response to the statements therein. Now, here's where he starts to try to explain why he doesn't think this is a big deal. Going back to the conference where he says, the killer, Dr. Husel. He says the purpose of the conference was related to the omission of defense exhibits and crafting jury instructions. After the defense rested on the March 31st, there were no jurors present, nor were any members of the public or media. So this was in a closed session. Nobody was there. Dr. Husel's appearance, that's William Husel, had been waived. Jose Baez wasn't there. Sounds like he was probably zooming in because he had local counsel working with him. The defense requested that when we say to the defendant, could we please put a name to it? You could say William Husel or however you want to call him. And this is where he explains, I was just frustrated with the progress and admittedly tired. I sarcastically responded, the killer, Dr. Husel. Immediately, I regretted this comment and advised those present of the same. Now, notice there's no, oops, my bad in the affidavit, but yeah, that's still not good. It does sound like the judge tried to correct himself. I recognized I was in poor taste and incredibly insensitive. Yeah, no shit. Notwithstanding the foregoing, any ill will or bias is non-existent. Actually, yeah, God, it's so single-spaced. Killing me, Judge. Anything regarding this is such matters are squarely within the juror's purview, and jurors were not present during the course. And this is the part I don't like, and I'm not sure, Kurt, how you feel about curative instructions. Do you think jurors listen to those? When the judge says disregard that. I'm not sure what you think, but I have my own opinion on that.
I mean, I don't know the answer to the question, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Oh, because I mean, there's times where when the judge says, "Hey, jurors, if at any point you think I did or said anything that you consider an indication of the court's view on this case, you're instructed to disregard it."
Yeah, that's like a standard in the jury.
Yeah, and it's standard. But I've also been there when, hey, judge, you need to give a curative instruction. Something really bad just happened. it's already happened. The jury heard something they weren't supposed to hear. Oh, hey, jury, that really bad thing for the defendant, forget you heard it. They heard it. They're not going to forget it or not apply it. I just, if they understand him and got an inference of his guilt, I don't think a jury would, just disregard that. So that's why I don't know. I'm not normally a fan of curative instructions.
Well, what's the alternative?
I don't know, but that's where it's, I think that at some point you're deprived of a fair trial. It's like, if the court screwed it up, like, it's not the defendant's fault. But I just, in this case, this would be the general instruction, and I've made an argument. I've written an appeal before where, there was an issue and the court agreed. It was like during voir dire. It was a massive issue that should have been brought up. It was a self-defense case, and the prosecutor said, you only need to worry about the facts that we present, or the elements that we're going to talk about. And that's not true. In self-defense, there's other elements that have to be addressed. There was an objection, and the court agreed, but they didn't admonish the jury and say, listen, that's not a correct statement of law. That's my job to tell you what's up. At the end, the judge read through his instructions, and the appeals court said, well, he fixed it later. And I'm like, yeah, he fixed it later after the jury's been told ignore everything, and then, oh, by the way, that was wrong. So, I don't know. I'm a little salty. I got burned on something like 2 months ago, so maybe that's just me.
I mean, I don't think it can be right that, like, every kind of mistake would necessarily, because the only possible alternative would be like every mistake would have to result in a mistrial, and that can't possibly be the right answer.
It can't be, and I know that, but also I guess it's just, I've seen so many mistakes before though, where it's like that should have been that they, courts always look for a way to say, oh, that's different, we'll distinguish that, or oh, well, that's not that big a deal. It's just harmless error. He was probably guilty anyway.
This also somewhat implies that in a perfect trial where there were no mistakes, the jury is still going to listen to the judge's instructions, right? Are they really going to follow even if everything the court did is right? Is the jury really, at the end of the day, when they go back in the back of the room, are they really doing what they're supposed to do?
How
much faith do you have in the jury over here?
I mean, they're that's the one I got to take a gamble on somebody, and it's got to be the 12 yahoos that are sitting there. Mm-hmm. I mean, at some point, you're right. They're the ones you have to let it ride on, but at least I can assure it's like I'm only have to worry about these 12 people going out the reservation, not the judge or the prosecutor or whoever. Yeah, it's still terrifying, but yeah, that is a fair argument. I can't wait to see when I scroll down. Everybody's like,
kind of getting to my point, or maybe if it wasn't clear, it's like if you have faith enough in the jury in a perfect trial to do whatever justice looks like,
sure,
then in the slightly imperfect trial where the judge has to give a curative instruction, then presumably they would follow that instruction just as much as the other jury instructions they get. So how deep does your faith go, I guess, is my question, right?
Yeah, no, and I agree. Yeah, it's we please don't look at anything. We trust them not to do that. We trust them not to do their own research. We trust them to just stay within the case, debate collegially. Don't try to strong arm people. Yeah, you're right. And I think that's fair. See, that's good, because I'm not just here screaming into the void and convincing myself I'm right.
For better or worse, it's a human enterprise. And then and then there's kind of an interesting philosophical question, which is if we could get robots to apply the law,
do you really want them to? Yeah.
Can the law be a truly mechanical exercise, or is it something irreducibly human and therefore flawed about it?
No, and that's we would and there's times where we'd want that human response, not necessarily the robot doing its thing.
Yeah.
And for every time, you'd want the robot to do its thing, there's going to be somebody else saying, wait, we don't want that. So, so as we see here going on, I'm going to keep going on, guys. He addresses the issues referring to the Court of Appeals. And also, he went and looked through all the references of victim murder or Court of Appeals. He actually went ahead and tried to review the transcripts he had in the affidavit, and he should note that each instance where he referred to Court of Appeals, it occurred 7 days prior to the affidavit, and most were outside the presence of the jury. Notice he agrees that some of them were in the presence of the jury. And if the defendant felt that the references to the Court of Appeals were demonstrative of bias or ill will, the time to file an affidavit of disqualification based on the same is overdue. That part I don't like that argument. Hey, if you think I screwed up, the time's gone by. Yeah, I don't think that's fair, because I think they should be allowed to put their case together, and they did it before it got to the end. Now, Judge Holbrook did a lot of explaining to the jury of what was going on. If, like he's explaining them what hearsay is, or he was explaining just various things in court. He was one of those judges. And he says that when he talked about the Court of Appeals, it was not done for a nefarious purpose, rather as simply trying to convey the importance of making a record. And I get that he may have been, at least he claims he was trying to educate the jury, but that still also implies, well, that's in case he gets, the idea of implying anything in a conviction on a defendant should not even be something a jury should imply from a judge while the case is going. And I get he was probably trying to be helpful, but I just don't like that. He could have avoided that and this wouldn't have been an issue. Thankfully, it's not a problem, but he also said, appears that I have also objectionably used the word murder twice and victim once in the 7-week trial. And that's the other thing, Kurt. This is a 7-week trial, 4 days a week. So yeah, this was a lot of hearing. This is a lot of days.
A lot of trial.
Yeah. Notably, murder was not used in the presence of the jury.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, which is good, but I respectfully submit, contrary to the affiant's position, the relatively few instances in which the words appear in the record is reflective of my efforts to ensure the parties receive a fair trial. Sounds like you're
I don't think you can give him a hard time for saying victim one time from the bench.
Yeah.
I don't think you can give him a hard time for that.
Yeah,
Even
no,
if you
I
said
don't
it
think
before
so.
Jury, I don't think you give him a hard time for that.
Yeah, and I agree, just once. But, like I said, it sounds a lot worse until you read the response, and that's why I was saying to everybody, let's read his response.
Yeah.
And he said, I can assure you and the parties that anytime the words murder and victim have been uttered without the precursor of alleged was purely innocent, not reflective of some sort of bias, prejudice, or ill will. So he's just saying if I ever did say it, it was an accident. And that's fine. It could be an accident, but, remember, the jury's hearing that. So you got to be careful. And then he says, the affiant submits 2 newspaper articles. I guess I didn't see those in there, but he said he first disputes the allegation that he held daily meetings with the press. But then he says, I entertain their questions. In doing so, I'm incautious. I don't hold press conferences, but hey, if they ask me questions, I answer them. I'm cautious to avoid my response other than those relate to procedural logistical matters. However, this is not a daily occurrence.
I don't know
Sounds
why
like
you're talking to them at all, to be quite honest.
Yeah, you're giving press conferences. Just, not every day. That's so much better. I only stabbed the guy twice, not 30 times.
Well,
yeah, he should.
I mean, there's something there somewhere.
Yeah, and also procedural logistical matters. I could see him saying, hey, Judge, how long do you think the case is going to take? It's like, we calendared out 8 weeks. That's fine. But procedural issues, I don't know. Go talk to the attorneys what the procedures are going on. I don't think he should be commenting on that. And the reporters can just listen to him in court. Moreover, after reading both articles, I do not see where I've given opinions regarding defense strategies or have been quoted regarding pending decisions. Now, he gave a video interview where he comments on, he was surprised by the defense's strategy of resting after one witness. So yeah, it wasn't in print, it was in video. So I think the judge is maybe getting a little cute with things here, but he did comment on it. He did comment that he was surprised by it. once again, it's not every little thing by itself is a problem, but it's, a flood is built of many raindrops, as a judge once told me. And then he talks about his legal arguments that he raises. And there's not a whole lot here that I want to talk about because that's kind of boring. I don't want to put you out of sleep. But he does say that the movement, which is Jose Baez and Dr. Husel, must demonstrate compelling displays of bias or prejudice to overcome this presumption of integrity from the court. And that's true. We presume the judges are acting with integrity, that they're impartial, that they're fair. And it's a very big presumption. Otherwise, if we couldn't rely on that, jeez, this thing would be a mess. There's further discussion about what's biased or prejudice when there's governed by state law. And here's another case. Here's another legal citation. And, then this is a little more conclusion by him, but he's trying to say, a review of the record will review that the affiant and defendant have always been treated with the same courtesy and respect as everybody that comes before me. He does try to say that, I've done a lot of things here that don't exhibit bias, that, Dr. Husel hired Jose Baez and he's not licensed in the state of Ohio, which I don't know if I like that, saying, hey, look, you should be thanking me. I let you bring in the attorney you wanted and I didn't have to. I mean, if there's no reason to let it.
I understand that. I'm not sure I have a problem with it, to be quite honest. If you can show where you've given courtesies to the defense to counter the idea that you're biased, it's like, well, no, not really. I've given these courtesies where I didn't have to. I'm not biased. I'm doing things for showing you fairness. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, I guess he probably could have worded that better, that I've never denied attorney, I've never had issues with out-of-state counsel. To me, it seems like that could have been worded differently. But, I understand what he's getting at. I think that could have been worded differently. But he's a judge, I'm not, so. This is interesting, and I do think this is actually kind of nice. He's permitted to use the private restroom in the chambers to avoid the scrutiny of the media. That's actually nice. Not a lot of people get that luxury, in my experience. Actually, I've never had a client who can do that. Any issue with the conduct of the parties has been addressed in camera outside the view of the jury, the public, and the media. And I think that's a good point to say, look, if there's ever been any issues, I bring it up to you guys, on the record, but in chambers. That way nobody else hears about it. They've been permitted unfettered access to the courtroom to prepare and permitted to appear for remote hearings out of state. And this is a case that's been going on since 2019. And yeah, Jose Baez works in Florida, and they allow him to be out of state. He was out of state for the verdict. So yeah, this is the stuff here I think is actually really good and shows he's trying to be very, impartial. The defendant's conditions were modified multiple times so he could travel out of state in order to prepare with Jose Baez. Yeah, Dr. Husel got to go to Florida a lot of times to work with Jose Baez. That's pretty hard in a murder case to get out-of-state travel granted, guys. That's a big deal. Now, it does help that he's accused of murdering people in a hospital, and this wasn't, he didn't walk into a food court and start killing people. He agreed to end the trial early on Thursday so that defense counsel could get home on the weekends, and that's true. It's only 4 days a week, and that's so Jose Baez can go home and be with his family. And he has this here, though, he talks about providing the defendant with countless concessions regarding the 21-day waiver for expert reports, over the state's objections, and providing the opportunity to cure foundational issues. He was doing that to both sides, so it wasn't just the state. There were a lot of expert problems on both sides. He talks.
That's still, even if he was doing it for both sides, that shows fairness.
Sure. He should be like, I think he could have worded that by saying, look, I let everybody fix their problems. Because I've been in front of courts where the judges don't let you do that. If you mess up on either side, that's it. And he just points out that rather, Baez was seized on out of context statements and attempted to infuse the same with the appearance of bias or prejudice. is it, or is he just being, zealously representing his guy? I mean, he said defendant has a fair trial. And yes, at this point, all that's left is closing arguments and jury deliberations. I did think it was weird that literally the last step, short of a verdict, is when this came out. But, that's his timing to release it and file it. And this is where I did have a curious, how would this happen if it's unwarranted and would wreak havoc on the process? I mean, I'm not sure how that would work, because a judge then has to come in and get caught up to speed. I mean, it would be very weird, and I think the jurors would know something's up. So, and had the defense really thought it was unfair, they should have raised it earlier. And then he says in conclusion, it should not be granted, Judge Holbrook. His last point there, I think, is very important. Like, what do you do? I mean, there's nothing else to do. He can't really affect the case anymore. The jury instructions have already been written up. Like, I don't understand what you do at that point. Like, what is this new replacement judge going to do differently? Except sentence,
the only
maybe.
thing they could do is to reassess whether or not there's been error enough to go back to square one.
Yeah, and this is I don't know if you've seen any of the footage of the trial or at closing. There was this just cart full of boxes, and that was the entire medical records for 14 people who were dying, and it's just you could stop bullets with it. Every day it was a doctor or a family member commenting on somebody's records and how sick they were, how they were going to die. I mean, it was just really repetitive after a while.
I'm sure.
Yeah. The judge shouldn't talk to press during the trial. Yeah, I think we agree. But, at the end of the day, was this judge elected? Yes, all judges in Ohio are elected unless there's like a vacancy and the governor appoints someone. But generally speaking, every level of judge in Ohio is elected. Some states, I know they do it by appointment, but yeah, we don't do that here. What was he thinking? I've never heard of a judge commenting to press. Yeah, can't do that. Can't do that at all. I don't think he should have done that. And, maybe he'll get told, or he'll be used as an example in judge school for CLEs. Don't do that.
Yeah.
This is interesting. Yeah, he might be against end-of-life care. Maybe he has experience, but, I didn't necessarily feel he was too pro-prosecution. I just thought he could, things didn't cut enough ways towards the defense, but overall it wasn't too bad. I didn't feel any nasty response from him going through it. He looked angry most of the time. He's not angry. He's just he's got to sit there. He's probably got a lot of other things he'd rather do, like play golf. But yeah, he's not angry. Holy crap. Oh, $5 from Cece. Why do you think pegging implements should be ribbed? A good lawyer could argue both sides. Well, you're arguing both sides from like a double-headed perspective, or what? But yeah, I mean, more texture is better. I mean, just like cooking, texture is everything. Okay, yeah, you see it reflecting off your glass. Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I was trying to catch up. Are we done down to the bottom? Okay, yeah, that was really it. I just thought it was interesting. I really wanted to read through that, and
okay.
You normally don't see those too much, especially in a big case like this.
So did you discuss on this stream, or can you educate me as to why? Because I wasn't really following this case very closely, but I'm interested in the degree to which it was a not guilty verdict, because I thought, with 14 cases, I was like, geez, Lord, I was expecting guilty, so to get not guilty, I was a little surprised.
So Dr. Husel was the ICU doc. He was an anesthesiologist at Mount Carmel West Hospital in Columbus. You learned through like 2016 to 2018, this hospital had a ton of issues. Things were so bad in the hospital that the DEA was investigating the pharmacy. and was probably going to revoke some of their abilities they had, which is the death knell for a hospital. They had all sorts of problems. There were, and then people started dying. And one of the families wanted an autopsy done. And there was an investigation. They found out, wow, this person got pumped full of fentanyl, a couple thousand milligrams or micrograms of it. That started an investigation. The hospital started investigating. They found out, oh, Dr. Husel's doing this to people. And they found like 25 instances of it where he was doing what he deemed palliative care. The removing the intubations, everything like that, and he was injecting them full of fentanyl. So the hospital does their investigation. They talk to the families, they talk to the pharmacists, they talk to the nurses, they talk to the doctors. Then they confront Dr. Husel, and they then go to the prosecution and the police with all this information. At that point, it explodes in the news. The hospital system addresses it like many corporate situations do by firing people. They fired like 150 people at this hospital. The administrators, heads of the pharmacy, head nurses, Dr. Husel, and other doctors. The police, and this is actually the first witness, is the detective who was leading the investigation, gets up on cross. Well, did you go talk to anybody in the pharmacy about this? No. Did you talk to any of the nurses? No. Did you talk to any of the doctors? No. Did you talk to Dr. Husel? No. So what did you rely on? He's like, I relied on the stack of papers the hospital gave me. As we got through the case, the hospital administrators started testifying, and all these people had been fired. They start commenting on emails that were made as part of discovery. The fact the hospital was such a dumpster fire, they started a PR campaign called Project Lighthouse. And part of that was to say, oh, we're actually really good. It's Dr. Husel. He's the bad guy. Worry about him. Everything else is fine. And they actually have this in there. There were emails
from the hospital.
Yes.
This?
Yes.
Well, that'll go a long way. Yeah, that makes a lot.
Oh,
of
it
sense.
is. It really comes across that he was scapegoated. But yeah, there were so many people that when they testified, like, well, where do you work? Do you work for the hospital system anymore? No, I got fired. When did you get fired? Oh, when this whole thing blew up. It was really bad. Including one of the hospital administrators, he said, oh, I got a bad back. I can't testify in court. So he shows up on Zoom, and Jose Baez brings up, like, are you familiar with the law firm Jones Day?
Yeah. Big
Okay.
law firm.
Yeah.
Huge law firm.
Yes, one of the biggest in the world. He said, isn't it true you're at the Jones Day office about 2 blocks away? He's like, and you can see he's looking off screen at the attorneys or whoever's there. And he's like, yes, I am. It was really bad. The hospital had its own attorney there. There were multiple issues of privilege that came up as far as reports that were involved. One of the doctors who put together all the evidence to present to the police ended up talking about reports that were not part of discovery and ruined privilege in a couple different. It was a mess, a complete mess.
Good.
Yeah, if you started watching it, there's no. They end up having to admit at one point, one of the state's medical experts they brought in, reviewing the charts of like one of the patients. Oh, the guy may actually have been brain dead, which in Ohio is dead. So he was accused of.
Dead.
Yeah, what's that?
I think everywhere it's dead.
I think some places it might not be. But yes, he's accused of murdering a brain dead guy. Well, that doesn't work.
No.
It was really bad. The experts they brought in were not anesthesiologists, were not critical care specialists. They were doctors or professors in medical schools who they were very well educated and can comment on a lot of things, but they weren't the same type of doctor. Unlike the defense, who brought in a major anesthesiologist from like Emory University, who he did research on, how to use fentanyl to kill people, especially medical grade fentanyl. And I guess one of the states that does lethal injection, after they lost the ability to get the special drugs, tried fentanyl, and it took them like 3 hours to kill the guy. And it was because good fentanyl does not kill you. And they had to load him up with benzos to finally bump him off. But yeah, it was his presentation was really good. There's just so much of it where you're sitting there listening to it and you're like, why is this here? I mean, they had causation was missing. And obviously, you don't have to prove a motive, but they didn't even prove an intent. Like, why would you do this? Or, what was the intent for this? I mean, they had nothing except these people died and, everybody's sad. And all the people he killed were terminally ill. I mean, they were, they weren't long for this world anyway.
Well, I mean, on the strict law, as you well know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you kill someone with 1 second of life left, that's still murder.
Yeah. You stole that 1 second.
Right.
And when the families came up and testified, they're like, oh yeah, we actually talked to Dr. Husel and, he told us what was going to happen. And I think for them, it's a little bit of buyer's remorse that they feel like maybe, for most of these people, they were already unconscious. And he said, we're going to yank the tubes out of them. We're going to dope them up and let them pass peacefully. I mean, I think a bunch of them were coming to grips with the idea that they helped kill their relative or they okayed it. That's what a lot of them kind of had that vibe of. They got really uppity on defense when they got cross-examined. CC for another $5. If you were a hurry, why would you be a mini horse? Same both sides premise. Well, why wouldn't I be like a penguin or something? I think that'd be a little more fun.
Well, I'm a little bit beat, and I was just really interested in the one topic, so I'm going to bow out for now.
No problem, Kurt. Thanks for stopping by.
With you.
Guys, Kurt from Uncivil Law, give him a subscribe. He's like, what are you up to, 60-some thousand?
No, 53.
53? Okay.
Yeah. I need to I need to steal some illegal bite subs or something.
Yeah. Well, are you going on there tomorrow?
I might for a bit, but I have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, so do I. But yeah, thanks for coming by, Kurt. But yeah, this case was just awful from the start. I don't understand why they did it.
All right, talk to you later, man.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt. I mean, he could be a mini horse, maybe. I don't know. Oh, yeah, it was a pharmacist who was... Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, the pharmacist said, oh, my God, there's too much fentanyl. Yeah, I forgot about that. You're right, Jacob. You're 100% correct. Yeah. Oh, Isaac Baruch's Wholesome Gabagool Art. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. Yeah, thanks, guys, for stopping in. Yeah, if my family member wanted a few more hours and he robbed them, except these families had talked with Dr. Husel and he told them what was going to happen. And like I said, I think some of that was, I mean, I would feel horrible if I told the doctor, yeah, let's go ahead and take care of my grandma. Like, I actually had to make that call. Like, I know my grandmother died in December, and I know my aunts had to make a tough decision. My aunts and my mom had to make a tough decision. Yeah, I'm not, that would be a horrible decision to make. Certainly would happen to me. It would kind of get to me. Wait, what's going to happen to the judge? Nothing. He'll be fine. Can the Supreme Court of Ohio sanction him? They could say, like, hey, judge, don't do that again. That was dumb talking to the press. But like I said, guys, when we read through the Jose Baez part, yeah, it sounds really bad, but Judge Holbrook responded. And there was I think, a little bit of an evening response there. And he pointed out, like, this isn't that bad. And then, real quick, I guess for the, given the kind of spoiler alerts and what we know, the Supreme Court of Ohio said, yeah, this doesn't count. This isn't that bad. So, and they talk about the affidavit and they say, look, this wasn't really that bad. We agree with the judge. It wasn't too big a deal. Yeah, and the family said to leave them out of fentanyl. Lawyers contacted them. Yeah, Jacob, I completely, 100% correct on that. So, can judges be sanctioned? Oh, yes, they can. They are in Ohio. To be a judge, you have to be an attorney. You have to have a law license. To be a magistrate in Ohio, you got to have a law license too. You can be sanctioned. Now, their sanctioning happens through the Supreme Court, just like for attorneys. Judges can be removed from office. There's a judge in Cleveland who was removed from office recently. It's a lot harder as a judge, though. You really gotta make it your job to get in trouble here. Hi, Robin. Kurt wins in a wrestling match. Sean wins in a pee and measuring contest, though, hands down. Okay, I'll accept that. If that's, I'll take the wins where I can get them. Voice of a Free America. What would it take for us to get a law passed that would allow us to tar and feather Governor DeWine? I don't know, but I fully support that law. And I'm not joking, that's not Minecraft or Roblox. That'd be interesting. Don't get my hopes up, though. This is why everyone needs a living will. Take the pressure off your family, give the doctors clear direction. Yes, that's not a bad idea. Do a living will. Make sure your healthcare directives are in order. Takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. Takes fighting out of it for your family, that your siblings or your mom and dad, whoever it is, has to fight over whether or not they pull the plug on you or what to do. They may not like what you want done, but at least they know what's going to happen. So, when my father was placed on palliative care, everything was discussed prior to everything going bad. I'm sure the patients feeling some guilt. I think that's part of it, It's a little buyer's remorse. Circumcised or no? All right, who likes smegma? Yeah, I'd like to get in touch with her and see if she would at least tell me what she thought. I can still smell their neighborhood celebrating 420 in my home. Well, I hope you mean your neighborhood, because where Dr. Husel lives, he lives out in the boonies outside of Columbus. So, oh gosh, what else did we get to now? Lori Vallow Daybell update. I know I haven't covered this, but I know a lot of the people involved in crime things. I know Nick Ricada, other people have covered it. So let's see here. I'm going to bring this up. Stop. Am I sharing this right now? God, I'm such a boomer with this thing. Stop screen, share. Okay, here we go. So, Lori Vallow Daybell was found competent to stand trial in the deaths of her children. For those of you who don't know, Lori Vallow killed her kids. So, Chad Daybell killed his wife and then married Lori Vallow. Lori Vallow brought her kids up, and then those kids died. They were found murdered on Chad's property, buried. So Chad's been charged with the murder, and Lori's been charged with the murders. Lori had an issue about competency and whether or not she was able to assist in her own defense, and she was competent to stand trial. She was determined to be competent, so now that trial is scheduled. For her, though, she's set to be arraigned. I think she already was arraigned, and the trial is set for October. Now, Chad is being tried in 2023, sometime in January, February. Lori refused to waive her right to a speedy trial, so that's why the trial's happening in October. They will not be tried together. Interestingly enough, Chad's set for 2023 in Idaho. It's interesting because in Idaho, there is no not guilty by reason of insanity. Oh, got a new boyfriend. Gotta go, kids. See you, Charles. Oh, hold on here. What's your perfect Sunday? I don't want to tell you. I want to show you. Are there still active civil suits? Oh, yeah. Yep. All the civil suits against Dr. Husel were kind of suspended till the criminal trial was over. So yeah, they're still going. There's still tons of litigation tied to this. Can we sue Prairie Township over Voice of a Free America? I have no idea where Prairie Township is, but yes, you can sue your township for possibly. I mean, you're gonna have to talk to an attorney for that. But yeah, there's attorneys who make a practice out of suing governmental agencies in Ohio. At least I think you're in Ohio, because you talked about Governor DeWine. Sadly, his neighborhood. Yeah, he means his neighborhood, and yes, in the boonies. Don Baca. Oh, well, thanks for coming out. Yeah. Yeah, you can take a break. You don't have to worry about running the show. No, I don't think they're going to move Chad's trial. I think they're probably going to leave it the way it is. Just your wooden doors? Yeah. You'd upgrade to metal. That'll help a lot. Well, I think they were going to try them together, but since Lori's pushing for speedy trial, I think they have to be severed at this point. But that may change. Who knows? We've got all summer to figure stuff out. Over by Murray Hill Road. Well, at least you're in Columbus, so yeah, you'll be easy to find an attorney willing to sue government agencies out there. Yeah, that was really impressive. That was crazy over there. So yeah, and it's interesting for Lori Vallow. She's not going to be able to claim insanity. Idaho, Montana, Alaska, and Kansas recognize a different type of insanity. In their states, insanity means you had no understanding cognitively of what was going on, and you couldn't develop the mens rea or the mental state required to commit the crime. There is no issue about whether or not you knew it was right or wrong at the time you were doing it, which is the typical idea when you think of mental insanity defenses, what would get raised. So in Lori's case, she's going to have to say, I'm so mentally messed up, I don't understand anything at all, which is clearly probably not the case if she's competent now. So she won't be able to do a not guilty by reason of insanity. And I'll probably do a video to talk about that. Living will stops greedy spouses from taking over your final moments or amazing recovery. Yeah, but also just making sure you have an adequate will. But if she's your spouse, generally speaking, you can't disinherit your spouse. Yes, Ohio has an insanity defense. Every state has some type of an insanity defense, and there's 4 types of them that run around in the United States. Like I said, the 4 states have this weird one where you don't get to claim you don't appreciate the wrongness of your actions, but the rest of them do to a certain extent one way or another. Yes, they do. They have interesting people out there. But yes, there's 4 different types of insanity defenses. And like I said, there's a moral capacity, whether, you understood your actions were wrong. That's kind of the common way I think we all understand insanity. Oh, who's talking to me? Uh-oh. Also, could you guys hear Kurt okay? Then there's, there's this, some states have this irresistible impulses issue for insanity. That's not a very common one, but some states I think still have it. And then there's just the idea of whether or not you're a product of mental disease or defect. So there's different ways you can show it. They have not yet, but I think they're going to be doing that fairly quickly for Lori Vallow. That was not a repeat client. That was somebody different. A little more important. No, but from what I understand, that the death penalty is going to get filed. It's just when somebody's deemed incompetent, you can't execute an incompetent person. The Supreme Court, and even just period. That would be insane. So once she's deemed competent, and that means you go through mental health providers, they evaluate her, they talk to her, they determine whether or not she can understand things. Yes, now they can file that. And just so those of you are wondering, you really can't fake it with these guys. They see it all the time. And I've had reports before where I thought my client, I wasn't sure if he's faking it, but you still have to raise the issue of competency. That's your job as an attorney. If you have it, not the slightest concern, but if it's just in the back of your mind, you're like, you should do it. You never know. But I've had it come back before where they said, yeah, this guy's malingering, he's faking it. So it's hard to hear. Yeah, I think Kurt was just really tired. Because I thought I saw somebody saying, yeah, they have 60 days to file a death penalty, and from what I understand, they're going to be doing that. Yeah, well, I think Kurt's just super tired. He's been working all day. So, well, you know, I'll have to get the OnlyFans set up for that for you, buddy. But yeah, we'll talk. CC. So what else do we have? Oh, Johnny versus Miss Poopypants. Jesus, that was loud. So yeah, Johnny versus Amber. This somebody sent me an email, and they brought up an issue and they didn't understand it. It was about hearsay. And it was about these text messages that were being read by Johnny talking to other people and why those weren't hearsay. Hearsay is an out-of-court statement used to prove the truth of the matter asserted. There are exceptions to hearsay, and one of them is a statement by a party opponent, meaning if you're the defendant, you can introduce the plaintiff's words against them. And if you're the plaintiff, like you're Johnny, you can use Amber's words against her and bring them into court. Why? Well, Johnny can defend himself on the stand and explain when he said, I want to burn her body and I want to have sex with her body after I burn it just to make sure she's dead. He can explain that and have a chance to do that. Now, it doesn't matter that he's not talking to Amber. They're showing all those text messages to show Johnny's a lunatic and he likes to talk about violent things. I don't think that's really worked so far, but that's the theory, that's the story they're trying to run with. That's the narrative they're trying to build, that Johnny's this crazy cokehead who can get violent. No, but I guess we're going to look at that in a second. So I didn't want to just out the person and use their name because I know they're on here frequently. Didn't want to embarrass them. But that's why that's not hearsay. It's a statement by a party opponent. And Johnny can say, yes, I texted this person. Now, they aren't going to talk about what that person said back because that is hearsay. So if Johnny texted Isaac and Isaac hadn't testified, they couldn't talk about what Isaac said because that's hearsay. That's an out-of-court statement. But Johnny could say, yes, I said I hope they find her in the back of a Honda Civic. But since Isaac has testified, his statements are no longer hearsay because they confronted him and said, did you say this? Yes. And then Johnny can say, yes, I said this part. So now they have those conversations pieced together. But if you only have half of it, you can only talk about the half for the person you have. Now, there are exceptions to the hearsay rule. There are a ton of them. And actually, in law school, your evidence class is mainly you learn about the rules of evidence really quickly, and then you go through all the types of hearsay because that's really the biggest part of it. And that's where a lot of law gets sorted out. Evidentiary objections, there's relevance, there's speculation, and then there's hearsay. I mean, like, those are really some of the biggest ones. And then there's foundation. Those are like the 4 types of objections you generally use. And in trial, I mean, hearsay happens all the time. So that happens a lot. So let me see here. Yeah, he was very, very charismatic. He's been Johnny Depp, and I guess it helps when you're... Yeah, anybody else talking like that or making those comments would be off-putting. Yeah. I mean, think about just take a random guy off the street and put him on trial, and he's going to sound like a serial killer. But yes, when you're a quirky artist, you can sometimes get away with stuff. Does Johnny have a chance winning based on the law? In the article, it says Amber says abuse without specifying what kind of abuse. It doesn't seem like she's beaten, but maybe verbal abuse. No, I mean, she said she was the face of domestic violence, and she's made multiple claims that he's beat her at different times. Especially, I think it's at the Australia trip where she claims he held her hostage and beat her senseless. And then she claims she got like a broken nose, 2 black eyes, and he beat the brakes off her. And then the next day she's on TV with Jimmy Kimmel or James Corden or whoever and looks perfectly fine. So, no, it's generally going to be the violence attached to it. Can he win on the law? Well, I think I've mentioned this before, John, but I don't know if you've been here before. A trial is sales, especially to a jury. You're selling something. You're selling a theory. You're selling a story. You're selling a narrative. In a criminal trial, it's no different. And this one here, Johnny's trying to say, look, Amber's a complete snake, a scumbag, and she's hyper-violent. Amber's trying to do the same thing, but it's really, I mean, I think it's going to be Johnny's case to lose. And will the jury necessarily focus on the law? Like Kurt said, you know, we talked about this, like if you have to trust juries to do the right thing and how do they go? God, okay, good, not on mute. Jeez, I was worried I'd be on mute. Well, what happens? How do you handle that? What do you do? Well, this jury might say, yeah, screw the law. Amber's a turd. She ruined Johnny's life. Guilty. You know, we find her liable. You know, when it comes to the law, juries don't necessarily always like the law. They want to find who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. So even at the end of the day, I think he's probably got enough to show she defamed him. But we'll see. It's far from over. Comes the clairvoyance. Hello. Yes, let out your inner Viking. Verbal abuse is damning, but remember, it's not verbal abuse. They're claiming each other is physically abusive. So it's not the end of the world there. Yes, rich people, famous problems. Yes, but this is about as interesting as a civil trial is ever going to get. So most civil trials suck and they are boring. So I guess, you know, smoke them while you got them. I mean, even then, I think he's got enough to win on the law, but we'll see. Well, Josh, I think I mentioned this before. There's only so much context because you can't comment on the other party he's talking to because they aren't there to verify their statements. So it becomes hearsay. You just have to have Johnny talk. But there is that one part where Johnny says, I love you, and then she says, I love you back, and then he talks about all the different uses he has for her throat. This was not a good day. They were trying to show him to be the bad guy, and it really fell apart. It was a bombshell full of mouse farts, the best way I can describe it, from what I watched. He could be violent. He might be. But at this point, I don't think it's been shown. His career was already over. No, I mean, Disney would have squeezed out another 10 Pirates movies if they could have. So, yeah, Johnny's violent towards inanimate objects, yes. Yeah, right. So far it's been Hollywood, but I guess we're getting there. Yes, excited utterances one. Yes, dying declarations. Yeah. The one I always try to use in court is like, it's the effect on the hearer, Judge. You know, the present sense impression. Yeah, and I can understand why some people would be scared. Because there are a lot of people who do get physically violent who are verbal and loud and destructive before it happens. So I understand that can happen. That's not, I don't think that's cynical at all. She wanted a nice piece of the pie. I mean, because let's be real, she's not going to be making the money. Yeah, so mad she'd poop on a bed. And I can understand that. Isaac Baruch's wholesome gabagool art. Yes. Thanks for your input. It's solid. Have super berries. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of interesting footage that comes out for Amber that's not going to help her out a lot. Amber's a lot younger than him. Yeah, that's one of the perks of being a celebrity. You get to go find hot young things 23 years younger than you and ditch your French supermodel of a wife. That's some first world problems. Yeah, it takes a lot to want to crap in your own bed, but you gotta admire the dedication it takes. Yeah, she did. And I think that'll come out when she takes a stand because she's gonna have to explain, why'd you sell it? Why wouldn't you just show the world like you're in this for money? Well, and I appreciate that, but don't ever feel compelled. But yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Isaac. Yeah, I think so, especially when the one where she's like laughing. I think she wanted something to happen, but we'll see. How many uses are there for my throat? Oh, well. If I told you now, they'd give away the store, wouldn't it? I want you to think about it. Let your mind run free. That builds the excitement. That builds the tension. I don't want to just give it away because then you won't be guessing. I'm getting popular now, yeah. All I can say is, looking at the, like how many people is this right now? 2.64 thousand subscribers. I appreciate it, but all I can say is I think you people have lost your damn minds. That's really the only way I can think about this. His career was over after the allegations. Yeah, sorry. Yes, that makes sense. I'm pretty sure my girlfriend will beat the crap out of me if I crap on the bed like that. Is her court behavior indicative of battered spouse, generally speaking? My experience, like I said, I've prosecuted before, but I've done mainly defense work. There's no atypical way you're supposed to react. Now, you guys may have an idea this person should be like fidgety and scared and shaky and crying, and the wind blows and they start crying. I've seen some domestic violence victims who are absolute badasses. They come in and they're like, I'm not afraid of you anymore. I'm coming in here to take this back. I'm claiming this. You don't own me. You don't define me. I'm here to show you that I'm my own person. And they do their thing. And yeah, those are hard people to you're like, oof. And then they are tenacious on cross-examination. They come at, they start coming at me like I'm the bad guy. And on the other hand, you do have some people who are super emotional and are just, they cry really hard and they need a break every 5 minutes because it's just too much for them. And there are people in between, but that's the way people handle trauma is kind of how people handle it. Amber's cross is what I'm looking forward to. Yes, I am looking forward to that as well. So at some point when Amber takes the stand, because she's going to have to talk about this in her own defamation suit, yeah, Johnny's attorneys, I think, are going to have a field day with her. Me poo, justice for Yorkies. Yes, I know. You can't blame that one on the dog. Hot young things, what would you do with them after 2 hours? I'm not sure what's hot young things. Yes, crazy people, yes, generally speaking, a crazy person does things like craps in their bed. Like it's been bothering anything else your stream started. Yeah, Okay. Oh no, I agree, and that's when she takes the stand. She's gonna have to explain. Well, why don't we have video of your injuries? Yes, mines have been lost. Oh no, we'll link up. We'll link up on our own. Don't worry, Charles. We appreciate it though. I bet there is a part of OnlyFans that's all about crapping on the bed. I bet there is. Now, yes, the attorney keeps saying he's trying to speed it along but cuts Johnny short. He's very irritated. Yes, because Johnny's very good. He's a rhetorician. He's good at banter. He's quick on his feet. He's quick-witted. He's not intimidated. So yes, that's frustrating this attorney a little bit. And this Johnny's going on long rants and long answers. Now, if I ask you a yes or no question and you start going, I'd say, excuse me, sir, Mr. Baruch, Mr. Depp, please. Yes or no, please. Thank you, sir. That's all I'm asking. He doesn't really jump in like that. He tries to do the whole, well, sir, we're trying to manage the time here. I think that's his way of trying to come across as not, trying to be an asshole, because that way I just showed you of like, sir, wait. And I do that. I'll put my hand up like, whoa, chill out. Hold on. Kind of comes across as a dick. But remember, I'm generally doing this in a criminal trial, so it's like that, that's part of how I do it. And if it's let's say it's like a nice little nun on the stand, I'll just be like, sister, thank you. Please answer yes or no. Thank you so much, Sister Mary. And then you go back to your questions. But yes, I think he came out thinking he'd get Johnny's goat, and Johnny got his. By the end, he seemed to, and I only got on right at the end, like 4:30. He was very pissed off. Johnny had been, it sounds like Johnny had been fucking with him all day, getting him riled up, getting him fired up. So, yeah, I don't, he was very irritated. So it's probably good that it's ending so this attorney can chill. And for Johnny, he gets the end on a high note. Hopefully comes back in with that, same vibe. Cake fart. Yeah, okay, yes. Cake farting's. Oh, God. Whose stream was I on where we were talking about cake farting? Yes, it's a real thing, and yes, it's on OnlyFans. I bet there's pooping on OnlyFans too, though. Late in Recada. I am offended at the Recada part. And also, I wasn't late. I was on time. I was on time like a 1930s train from Italy. Some of you may get that one. Now, guys, I will say there is such a thing as, mental abuse and verbal abuse, but I don't think Amber is claiming that. She's claiming the physical abuse. 7-Eleven inside job. Yes. Oh, early start tomorrow. Have a great night. Well, thanks for stopping by. I'll get in touch with you, and I'll get you some of this info that I had. Shows my cake fart face. My nose is perfectly normal sized. Yes, it is. Hold on. There you go. Normal sized nose. So who mentioned the Mike Tyson beating somebody thing? I gotta Google this now. I heard about it, but I didn't see it. Yeah, Mike Tyson airplane video. Oh, apparently the rest of the internet's seen this. Oh, God, tell me this is good. God, I'm probably gonna get copyrighted on it. Let's see here. What does the tube of views has? Mike Tyson. Also, you guys get to hear the clicky clack. Let me see here, guys. Hold on. Okay. We're going to do this here. It was me. He wailed on that dude. Well, we're going to see how bad this gets. Because a lot of people thought it was hilarious when I watched that guy get shot on Recada's stream. I just laughed, but it's like, It's hard not to laugh when you see stuff. All right, guys. Is everybody ready? No cake fart face then? Baby, that's gotta be private, man. I can't just show that to the world. If it's meant for me and you, I can't let everybody else see it. You know, like, come on. You know, get a hold of me on the side. So all right, guys, we're gonna watch Mike Tyson apparently beat the brakes off somebody. So let's see here. Where is it? All right, here we go. I'm gonna turn it down just a hair in case it's loud.
This is George talking to Mike Tyson, bro. This shit crazy, bro. Mike Tyson. My dog done got lit, man. He over here rapping with Tyson. Mike Tyson trying to give us some shrooms. You don't know how to act. Tyson looking out, man. This shit crazy as fuck.
You should have never gave you his money.
Let's see. Well, so far it just sounds like everybody. This guy's having a fun time. I'm assuming that's going to change for him very quickly.
JetBlue, mid flight. My boy just got beat up by Mike Tyson.
Oh.
Turn that way.
Oh.
Yeah, he got fucked up.
Okay, well, where's the fight?
Trying to ask for autograph, man.
Hey,
oh.
hey.
Oh.
Hey, Mike,
oh.
Mike, come on. Let's go stop back.
Oh. Yeah. Oh. Okay. I mean, is that the video you guys have seen? I mean, that was it? I thought that was going to be, like, very intense. Maybe I'll have to find a different one here. Hold on. Yeah, CBS Los Angeles.
A crazy fight involving boxing legend Mike Tyson on board a flight that was about to take off from San Francisco. And CBS 2's Christine Lazar joins us now with video of what went down.
Another week, another unruly passenger, but this time he's famous, of course. And you know he...
Here we go.
Hey.
Oh, it's the same
Mike,
thing.
Mike,
All right.
come on. Let's go stop back.
That's it?
The witness said at first
that's...
Tyson took a selfie with the guy and kept his cool as...
Yeah, I mean, Mike Tyson, even those short jabs, oof, those will be tough. I mean, he wasn't ripping back. I mean, it's like the little pop, pop, pop. What amount of money would it take for me to take a headshot from Mike Tyson? You couldn't pay me enough. He could kill me. He could kill any one of you out there. Any one of you. I don't care if you're cake farting, or I don't care if you're late and gay like Ricada. He punched hard enough probably to kill anybody. That's you couldn't pay me enough. It's like saying taking a hit from Floyd Mayweather. Yeah, he's a little dude, but way littler than me. But yeah, I wouldn't want to get cracked in the face by him. And I mean, if it's those little punches like that, you could probably pay me some money. But if you're talking about like Mike Tyson just getting up there and throwing a hard right, no, I'm not letting you do that. Where he can put his whole back into it. The lead attorney ever found out who Jack Murphy is? I'm betting he did, and I feel sorry that he had to learn about it. But hey, that's the beauty of the internet. Surprised Tyson didn't do more damage. Well, that guy being drunk probably helped. Keeps him nice and loose. That's Mike Tyson, all right. If you guys want to hear a joke, who says fee fi fo, fee fi fee fo? That's Mike Tyson giving out his phone number. That said, though, he's a pretty cool dude. He's been through a lot, but he's pretty cool. I mean, he's been on Joe Rogan. He's a very interesting guy to listen to. Didn't want to go to jail for murder? Yeah. Learn that cake farting was a thing. Welcome, friend. Let me show you the rest of the world. Yeah, he probably deserved it, and do I think anything's going to happen? I don't know. I mean, they're probably going to... I mean, still can't punch people, no matter how much they deserve it. But hopefully, yeah, they leave him alone. I will say, though, even drunk, that takes some stones to walk up to Mike Tyson and piss him off. Yeah, he took it easy on him. I don't know if that's a Mike Tyson quote, but it could be his. Yeah, nope, don't need his money. Trish, I'd beat him up myself. Yeah. If Tyson was 85, I won. Yeah. Airport security left him. Yeah, they're not patting him down. Oh. Yeah. Look, you bite a guy's ear off one time. Those plane seats look comfy. Oh yeah, I mean, I think that may have been first class. But yeah. Guy started recording halfway through. I'll bet that little shit tries to sue him. Sure. Attorneys have to make their boat payment somehow, guys. So somebody will probably take up his case for a contingency. You would let pre-prison Mike Tyson go full out for a few $1 million? He'd probably kill you. I mean, Mike Tyson, before he went to prison, God, dude, that guy's scary. Back in the day. That would be horrible. The flight attendant trying to... Yeah, I think he just let it run its course. Floyd has glass hands, though. Yeah, but it doesn't take much to get, knocked out. Yeah, he's a featherweight, but still, he knows how to throw a punch, and that's either you can have massive power or you can have the skill. It's like Conor McGregor. I'm way bigger than Conor McGregor, and he could still probably knock me out because he can throw a great punch, and he's got that left hand of doom. It's not like I'm fighting, it's not like I'm going to be fighting Stipe, and Stipe, which, probably about 40 minutes away, could knock me out too, but he's a big guy. No, he can't take notes from the witness stand. Actual question. Thank you, Jessica. A real question now, not would you rather get eaten by a shark or a bear. No, you can't take notes on the stand. You're not allowed to do that because obviously you're kind of coaching your testimony and corralling it. You're not allowed to do that. You got to go natural. You got to keep it all up here. Maintain your composure. That's why people, when they get on the stand, I mean this for all you normies out there, that's why you guys buckle. There's no way to really prepare for it. Being an actor is probably about as close as you can get. Yes, his uppercut was fatal back in the day. Oh, yeah. I think he is. I think I've seen those. I don't think so. I'm not sure. Well, that's good. Hopefully he sobered up and realized he took the L. Would I defend him for attacking Tyson? Yeah, I'll defend anybody. Comes to my office and wants me to hire me, sure. I'll defend Mike Tyson. That'd be a lot more fun. Holbrook should have been removed. Of course, our corrupt Ohio judicial system didn't do it. Ohio's system's not too bad. There are some states where things are mighty sketch, but Ohio's pretty good overall. There are some really bad states to be in, and thankfully Ohio's not one of them. Did they remove Mike off the plane? They'd have to cut a hole in the side of the plane to get him out. Nero, I missed it. What did Mike Tyson do? Oh, he beat the brakes off a guy on a plane for messing with him. The guy was drunk, so he kind of deserved it. That's a question I ask people. Probably by a shark. Hopefully it's quicker. Bear's gonna play with you and stuff. Truth is always easier to remember. It is, but even then, the other side is gonna try to trip you up and come at you to make you poke and prod and come at you from every different little angle possible. So even if you have the truth on your side, some bullshit artist of an attorney is going to end up making you look like you agree with everything. Not yet. The picture, the foundation was laid for it, that everybody's acknowledged it's real. He recognizes the bed. But that's when Amber comes on. They're going to say, why did you do this? Look at this turd. I think it'd be funny if they still had it in a bag somewhere, like thwack onto the table, onto the witness stand. Is this your log, ma'am? Wow. Almost 2 hours. I'm going to wrap this up. Guys, it's been 2 hours. We got to wrap up quick. Yeah, but sharks take one bite, but I'm hoping it looks like a great white. Yeah, Melvin, I agree with that. But like I said, is all those things fatal? No. I mean, like I said, the judge explained his response to it, and I think his side is correct. Now, I will say, when you're Jose Baez, you're going to be zealous in defending your client and doing everything you can to help him. He didn't lie, didn't misstate things. It's just he put him in the light most favorable to them. Let's see here. Yeah, the Ohio Supreme Court judges, yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, I maybe disagree with some of the things they've ruled on in the past year or two, but overall, they're okay. I let them walk my dog. I don't know if one is better than the other, Eric. Jonathan, I gotta get some. It's getting late. I gotta get done. Give us 30 minutes. Why don't I just keep going? I'm just gonna keep going. I'll start siphoning people off. Like, no, Nick, it's my turn now. I'm going tonight. This is my spot. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. I'd fall asleep halfway through. Or you know what? I'll say it fine this way. Every $50, I'll pound a White Claw. We'll see how far we go. Thanks very much, Isaac. I appreciate all of that. And yeah, have a nice night. I probably won't be on anybody's stuff tomorrow till later in the day. I've got a hearing in the morning. Kind of forgot about when I was planning things. And then I also got to get some more work done. So yeah, guys, like I said, fall asleep, chat amongst yourselves. Yes. Or chat amongst yourselves when I'm on mute. Yeah, I know. In reality, most sharks, when they bite people, people start panicking, hitting them, and the shark freaks out. And the sharks generally, they bite to tell what they're dealing with. But let's say it's like Jaws. Jaws versus like the bear from The Edge, that man-eating grizzly. Sure, stream for 6 hours on mute. I'll pass. I'll let him have that one. You need to do something so you don't touch the mute button. Yeah, I do. I need to figure something out. No, they taste better than Zima. Zima's awful. Zima's horrible. Yeah, thank you, Trish. I appreciate it. Oh, hey, appreciate you still subbing anyway, Jonathan. I appreciate it. Did Robin Givens take punches from him? Yes. A lot of people have taken punches from Mike Tyson, probably not in Well, I could do the unbuttered one, yeah, but if I'm not fat, the unbuttered one doesn't work as much anymore. Yeah, they're okay. The Bud Light ones are okay. I just like the White Claws the most. They're kind of clean and crisp. I like them better. The new featured mute every week. Yeah, maybe we'll start doing that at random times. So, guys. All right. Hey, it's about 2 hours almost on the dot. We're ending this right and on time. So that's it, everybody. Have a great night. And remember, until next time, just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty.